Hello everyone and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President, Senior Consultant with Camac Retirement Group. And today we have in studio from the state of Oregon, Lisa Massena. She's the Executive Director of OregonSaves. Lisa, great to have you here in the show today.
Jeff, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we've been reading a lot about state-run Auto-IRA programs, and state of Oregon, has really taken the lead in this initiative. I'm wondering if you could, for the audience, just kind of share the history, the background, and then we can maybe go into the process.
You bet. So we are very excited to soon be offering the nation's first state-sponsored Auto-IRA program in Oregon. And we're in very good company with California, Illinois, Connecticut, Maryland, and about 20 other states that are working very hard on this. I can tell you a little bit about the background, or I don't know if you'd like me to start with the background or a little bit about the program itself.
Well, I think why don't we start with the program, and then let's delve into the background about how,
Okay.
how the genesis of it, et cetera.
Sounds good. So I like to describe it this way, which is if a 401k and an IRA got married and had a beautiful baby, that would be this program. So it offers all of the fiduciary governance that a 401k program does, a very simple and set investment menu, institutional pricing, and the account type is an IRA. And what's nice about an IRA in this structure is that it gives a working saver full portability. So they take that with them wherever they go, whether they work for multiple employers over time or multiple employers at the same time. So it turns out to be a very good structure. We also see it as really a half step in between an employer not doing anything and an employer offering a full traditional retirement savings plan. So we think that it will help bring employers more into that traditional retirement marketplace.
And there are millions of Americans. We've covered this on the show. Just last August, we had now Treasurer Tobias Reed on talking about this issue. We've got millions of Americans who have not saved, don't have the ability to save and plan for retirement. Can you talk to the audience and about the genesis of this, how this came to fruition, the background?
You bet. So we've been studying this issue in Oregon for a good 20 years. One of the things that we identified as we re-looked at it in early 2016 is that we have over 1 million people in our state that don't have access to a retirement savings plan at work. We're a small business state, so about 600,000 of those folks work for an employer who doesn't offer a plan. Another 200,000 work for an employer who offers a plan, but not to them. Many of those work part-time, so they're not eligible for benefits. Some of those are folks who will be eligible, but they're not yet. The final 200,000 fall into this category of self-employed, and we tend to think, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're all set. But in fact, it also includes basically it's home care workers, it's people who work in IT, it's creative workers. So there are a lot of folks who get 1099s who could benefit from the ability to opt into a program like this. So our mission, our goal is to make it available to all, both those that work for an employer that doesn't offer a plan or an employer that offers a plan and not to them, but also on an opt-in basis to folks who are self-employed.
I would imagine as part of your process, there's feasibility studies and things you have to do. There may be people out in the audience who are kind of thinking about this initiative, maybe from the supporting it in some way in terms of offering a service. Talk a little bit about the feasibility process and how you went in. You talked about you looked at the state demographics, but if you go in a little bit more detail about that, I think that might be helpful.
So the one exciting thing to me is we've had a lot of help along the way, Jeff. So we started in late 2015, so the bill passed in 2015. The board and I came on board in late September, early October, and we sat down and said, okay, what do we need? And we knew that we needed to refresh our marketplace information for Oregon. We knew that we needed some help with an operating model and a program design, and then we needed a financial feasibility study so we could understand, does the boat float, and under what circumstances is this thing not going to work? So we worked closely with a variety of different providers. We worked with Boston College on the market analysis. We worked with Siegel and Bridgepoint on the operating model and program design for Oregon. And then Boston College also helped us out with the financial feasibility study. But I'll say this, and I can't name all the names, unfortunately, we had probably about 120 other individuals and firms coming to the table in a series of public meetings that we held. So we held a series of meetings on plan design, on program design, on financial literacy, and then we started a series on outreach because we want to make sure we do a good job of getting around the state. And through those meetings, we had, again, 120 or more different people participating with us, local experts, national level experts, representatives of employers and employers themselves, small business owners, representatives of employees, nonprofits who work on financial literacy. So we got a lot of feedback, we got a lot of input, and that really helped to shape the design that ultimately has become the OregonSaves program.
Well, it truly does take a village. I mean, these plans are very complex. They don't create themselves. One person can't do it, one group, so it definitely takes a whole group, and you've got to get the feedback. How important is communication education to this initiative?
Well, so we think it's critical, communication and education, and this whole concept, one of the things that I've learned a lot more about during this process has been the concept of financial capability. And that really, every time I say financial literacy to someone who's an expert in this space, they correct me and they tell me it's not really about literacy, it's about exposure and actually taking the steps. So some of the things that we're working on, we see the nonprofits both in our state and nationally as part of our distribution for the program, meaning when someone who is working gets an opportunity to save in this program and then turns around to ask someone who's helping them, is this good, should I do it? We need to make sure that that someone is well informed about the program, able to speak knowledgeably to it in the context of that person's circumstances. So we've engaged with our nonprofits and again, literacy and capability organizations in state. We've engaged nationally. I'm spending some time with another really great organization while I'm here in New York in that space. And in addition to that, then there's this communication concept. So how do we get the word out? Yeah. We've taken the approach, I have a microscopic budget, which I'm glad because, you know, at the end of the day, it's about doing a good job with what you have. And I think we've done a good job with what we have. Anyway, so we're working on how we get the word out. We think of it almost as a train the trainer concept. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if I tell you and you tell 5 friends, we're getting the word out further and further. We will be supplementing that with formal communication in a variety of ways, but that's what we've been working on for about the last year.
Yeah, and I should add that all these documents that you've created are available on the state's website or through the OregonSaves website. Yes. People can view the documents used in these public meetings, and I think that transparency and disclosure is a key element of your success.
So one of the things that we feel strongly about is whether you agree with us or don't agree with us with regard to what we're doing, we need to hear from you. So, you know, if you agree and you think there are things we're doing right and you want us to keep on, that's been helpful. We get a lot of guidance around, you know, if you just do this instead of that, it'll work better for employees, or do this instead of that, it's going to work better for savers. That's been very helpful for us. We hear from people that have lots of different levels of concerns, and those concerns have helped us make sure we take the rough edges off of what we're designing so that, again, it will work ultimately the best it possibly can.
I want to talk a little bit now about the fiduciary framework or the regulatory framework that was put in place at the end of the Obama or during the Obama administration. Yeah. And there seems a little bit of a recalibration, if you will, in the House of Representatives. Where there's been some recent initiatives to kind of maybe change or annul or unwind the regulatory framework. Get your sense about that and, you know, next steps as relates to that. Because you know, I think from our point of view, this is really a multi-solution type of environment where, you know, solutions don't just have to come from one space, they can come from multiple spaces.
Yeah. So I'll say, we absolutely agree with that, which is this is one stripe of solution. We think that there are a number of other great ones out there, and they're coming along too. So I'm happy about that. From a regulatory environment perspective, there is a 1975 safe harbor that exists in ERISA that allows for payroll deduction IRAs. And so the bill in Oregon, and I think many other bills around the country, have been drafted with that safe harbor in mind. The Department of Labor, though, in 2015 and 2016, so this was at least a 2-year process and involved a lot of public feedback and a lot of careful thought. The Department of Labor created an expanded safe harbor for these exact circumstances, which is the state-sponsored Auto-IRA programs, and also in January of this year for what are called non-state entities, so cities that are as large as the smallest state, basically, to give them the same sets of safe harbors. They have some very important characteristics and features. They're designed for this space. I think that they're important to, they're definitely very important to us. They create a very strong set of guidance for these state programs as they go forward. And we know this is under consideration in the Senate currently. We know the Senate is looking at it very, very closely, and we are hopeful for a good outcome because we think it's very important to the state programs that this important guidance stay in place.
Well, hopefully they're tuning in to staying ahead of the curve in this issue to help get some more detail. I guess the last direction I wanted to go in, or last question I had, is around, I think there's a pilot program, and you're start by rolling this out. I think it's a very, as a person who, part of a team who manages projects, you want to make sure that when you're innovating that you have a very step-through process. And I think you're incrementally rolling this out. So you've got 10 or so employers that you're going to bring this to market for.
Yes. So I'll, after the public meetings, the series of conversations that we had in mid-2016, we were able to put together an RFP, retain a planned service provider for the program. That firm is Ascensus. I think they're going to do an excellent job, and they've done a terrific job with us already. And then early this year, we selected the investments for the program, working with State Street Global Advisors going forward. So we now have we have just a few little things left, but most of the parts and pieces, and so we're shifting now into implementation mode, working very closely with both of those providers, and again, many others who continue to help us out from industry in a wide variety of ways, and we're hugely appreciative. So we have planned to do 2 pilots in 2017. So a small pilot in July to essentially, and a start and stay pilot, not a start and stop, but to prove the money and data go where they should, communication with employers, communication with employees, works the way it should. And I'm sure we're going to find a few things, tune them up.
Always.
Second pilot scheduled for October, and then full rollout plan for January. We had initially thought let's have 5 to 10 different employers. I think we have 28 employers that have asked to be in the first pilot. We're probably going to put a few of those employers in the second pilot, but we're pleased. It's an excellent group of businesses in Oregon who are eager to be able to offer this program to their employees, whose employees have expressed eagerness to be in, and we're happy that they're willing to help us continue working to make OregonSaves the best it can be.
Well, it's great. Lisa, I want to thank you very much for sharing your experience with the audience, and hopefully you'll come back and a year from now, and we'll see how, tell us a little bit about how things kind of unfolded.
I'd be pleased to. Be very excited to.
Lisa Massena, thank you so much.
Thank you.